Good day, viewers. Is there a child in your house such as a younger sibling or nephew and you are asking yourself, why do they grow up quickly or develop specifically in their cognitive and motor skills? They have learned to regulate their emotions, and they are beginning to participate in activities that align with their interests. Maybe they are in their fourth stage of development, also known as early childhood. In this video, the typical developmental milestones of kids between the ages of 2 to 6 will be discussed. Are you ready? Hi, this is Jairo. He is 2 years old. In terms of physical development, during his preschool years, there is a steady increase of his height, weight, and muscle tone. Compared with toddlers, preschoolers like him are taller and leaner. Their legs and trunks continue to grow, and their heads are not as large in proportion to their bodies. As preschoolers, bodies develop over time. The areas in their brains that control movement continue to mature. Children typically grow between the ages of 2 and 6, roughly 4 inches in height every year, and add roughly 3 up to 5 pounds annually in weight. The third year age resembles a toddler in many ways, having a huge head, a massive tummy, short arms, and limbs. The typical 6-year aged is approximately 46 inches tall and weighs 46 pounds. However, the child's torso has extended and bod by the time they are 6 years old. Its dimensions have gotten closer to adult proportions. In terms of Jairo's brain maturation, by age 3, his brain reaches 95% of its adult weight, with myelination and dendritic growth in the cortex. This maturation aids in thought, planning, and emotional regulation, enabling young individuals to restrain emotions and understand game mechanics. From 3 to 6 years old, the brain's left hemisphere expands, requiring one for language skills. The right hemisphere grows for spatial abilities, while the corpus callosum, composed of 200 million nerve fibers, links the two hemispheres. Now let's move on to his motor skill development, which is divided into two: the gross motor and fine motor skills. Gross motor skills pertain to skills involving large muscle movements. By the age of 2, Jairo could be able to jumps, hops, throws, and catches with rigid upper body. At 3 years old he can briefly balance and hop on one foot. Once he turned at age of 4, his balance improved. And at the age of 5, he has better coordination. While fine motor skills involve use of smaller muscles. 2 years old he puts and removes simple items of clothing. 3 years old he can build, copy and draw simple things. 4 years old, he can manage to use spoon and fork while eating and puts on clothes properly. And at age of 5 he shows more skills with simple tools. Sexual development. In early childhood, children are incapable of sexual arousal, but its physical dimension is present from birth. It's also inappropriate to associate adult meanings of sexuality such as seduction, love, or lust to the children, as it cannot be interpreted in the same way to the adults. If infants touch their genitals, as soon as they acquire sufficient motor skills, as a stimulation is for comfort or to relieve tension rather than to reach orgasm. In early childhood, Jairo might experience self-stimulation and masturbation, which are common in this stage, as it was natural for them to be curious about their body. Sometimes they tried to show their genitals to their family or friends, or even take off their clothes and touch each other. In terms of masturbation, boys are more frequent and often learn to masturbate by other boys compared to girls who typically discover it by accident. We should always remember, as parents, we should avoid making their children feel guilty about their bodies. They were also expected to discuss the proper time and place to engage these activities.
In terms of cognitive development, according to Piaget's pre-operational stage, spanning from 2 to 7 years, Jairo is starting to use symbols to represent words, images, and ideas. This stage is divided into symbolic play and intuitive thought. At age 2 to 4 years old, symbolic play manifests where children are allowed to think symbolically. For example, Jairo could use objects to represent other things, such as when a cardboard box becomes a house or fruit store. When Jairo turned 4 to 7 years old, intuitive thought could manifest to him where he tends to become very curious and ask many questions.
You're too hyper.
Why make me too hyper? Give me a little bit.
No.
Why?
Further, when he reaches 5 to 7 years old, he can perform basic math and is able to give his full name and his age. Under intuitive thought involves 1. pretend play, wherein he acts like a superhero and saves people from a villain. 2. Egocentrism refers to the tendency of young children not to be able to take the perspective of others. For example, Hiro may want an animal stuffed toy for his birthday. When then a child is asked what their mother would like for her birthday, Hiro may say stuffed toy. Next. 3. Conservation errors refers to the ability to recognize that moving or rearranging matter does not change the quantity. Example, the mothers of Hiro breaks the cookie in a half, and then Hiro thinks that there are 2 cookies. The idea that the child focuses on the number of cookies is what we call conservation error. Another concept is classification error, a child wherein encounters difficulty understanding that an object can be classified in more than one way. For example, being able to sort their toys into order, based on their size, color or importance. And lastly the 5. Animism refers to attributing lifelike qualities to objects. For example, a 5-year-old child thinks that her toys can also feel tired, happy or sad. Otherwise, Vygotsky's sociocultural theory emphasizes that learning is an active process influenced by social interaction. He emphasizes the importance of guidance from teachers or parents, and he called it a zone of proximal development and scaffolding. Additionally, the private speech. For example, Hiro at age of 5, his teacher taught him how to write his name, or his parent guiding him child how to read. In terms of the information process, these include the attention and memory of the preschooler. Attention is a complex function that involves sub-processes such as divided attention, where children have difficulties to focus their attention between 2 tasks. In selective attention, a child improves their attention and avoids other distractions in order to focus on one particular task. Sustained attention, on the other hand, is when your children can attain and focus on a task for a continuous stretch of time. In the view, memory begins in sensory memory, transitions to short-term memory, and then may move to long-term memory. As the child grows, they develop better memory skills and attention at the same time. They focused for longer periods and recalled information. Between ages 5 and 7, they develop the ability to focus, memorize lists of words or facts and process information effectively. For instance, they can use their knowledge of the alphabet and letter sounds, phonics, to start sounding out and reading words. In terms of language development, children acquire the ability to talk in whole sentences through the process of language development. From babbling to speaking in complete sentences, children go through periods in their language development. A child's brain develops the ability to recognize words and noises, and their typical response is to wave, babble, and point. This eventually leads to the development of spoken language generation and differentiation skills. A youngster may gradually understand basic language patterns and expand their vocabulary at this time prior to gaining fluency. Vocabulary growth happens between the age of 2 to 6, from roughly 200 to more over 10,000 words. This pumping in vocabulary usually include learning 10 to 20 new words every week and is carried out using a procedure known as rapid mapping. Making connections helps make learning words easier between brand new terms and previously understood ideas. Literal meanings are happened when Hiro repeats a word or phrase after hearing it. People just see them once or twice, but they don't always get the message terms or expressions. This is particularly valid for utterances or rhetorical devices which are accepted as true. While overregularization happened when Hiro picked up grammatical rules, which he may initially apply incorrectly. For example, the suffix ed indicates the past tense of a word. At his age of 2 or 3, this is usual. Then, build a statement like, I go ed there. I do ed that. In order to employ new words like went and did in specific circumstances, he will shortly learn them. And lastly, psychosocial development initiative versus guilt is the third stage of Erik Erikson's theory of psychosocial development. This stage occurs between the ages of 3 and 6 years old, when children are developing their sense of self-determination and their ability to take charge. For example, in initiative, Hiro's parents reinforce him through giving freedom to play, use his creative imagination and ask questions. On the other hand, in guilt, Hiro may feel sad if his parents criticize his thoughts, preventing him from playing with other children and discouraging his questions. It just shows that children in this age develop interpersonal skills and start to stand up for themselves. Self-concept. Hiro's initial concept of self is developed in their formative years, which encompasses perception of identity, abilities, emotions, and thoughts that is shaped by social interactions.
I like school a lot.
Very good.
And I love art.
Self-control. He is able to see the start or self-control, a process that takes many years to fully develop.
Disappointed? Oh, that's a problem. Oh, he's taking a deep breath. Look at Louise.
Gender. While Hiro is 2 years old, he can identify some differences and learn whether they are boys or girls. Preschoolers become more interested in what it means to be male or female. Freud and the phallic stage. In this stage, Hiro develops an attraction to the opposite-sex parents. He develops his or her own sense of masculinity or femininity from this resolution. Based on Baumrind, she identified 4 different parenting styles, which is very essential to the relationship of the parents to its children and also their development. 1. Authoritarian parenting, often imposing rigid rules without considering the child's perspective. 2. Authoritative parenting, it has rules and consequences but also making sure that the child's feeling is validated and is considered more democratic. 3. Permissive parenting, it is known for setting few rules and boundaries. And 4. Uninvolved parenting, lack of structure and guidance, expecting children to raise themselves. Spanking. Spanking is associated with a myriad of serious potential risks, not the least of which include developmental delays, harm to the brain, and embodied trauma. Play. Play improves Hiro's cognitive, physical, social, and emotional well-being. Through play, he learns about the world and himself. Hiro also learns skills he needs for study, work and relationships such as confidence. Sexual abuse. Sexual abuse can create feelings of self-blame, betrayal, and feelings of shame and guilt. Being sexually abused as a child can have a powerful impact on self-concept. Stress on children. If Hiro's brain is exposed to long periods of severe stress, it can develop a low threshold, making him hypersensitive to stress in the future. With chronic toxic stress, he might undergo long-term hyperarousal of brainstem activity. This includes an increase in heart rate, blood pressure, and arousal states.
And that would be all for today's video. Hope you learn a lot. Please, if you have any questions regarding the presentation, let us know in the comment box below. Thank you and have a great day.